literally saying people like me, born in this country with my color of skin, are on your list of people who you'll be taking out of the country. And for the record,
let's
that
clear that
is
up.
kidnapping. I was born here, and he is talking about kidnapping people with my skin color. That is violence.
Well, let's just clear that up, Charlie.
Don't be so ridiculous.
Would you?
A Restore Britain campaigner and a former Remain activist go head-to-head. And within minutes, the conversation about trade and sovereignty turns into something much rawer. Questions about citizenship, ethnicity, and who really belongs here start to surface. Watch closely for the moment one guest is asked a direct yes or no question and can't quite bring himself to answer it.
You recently shared a video by Douglas Carswell where he said that the reimmigration will involve stripping citizenship from people who are born in this country. And you have said that your reimmigration, part of the purpose of it, is to fix the demographic of the UK because it's going too far away from white people, which means you won't be stripping citizenship.
Hang on, it's nothing to do with white people. Come on.
You've complained about, have you not talked about white British people becoming a minority?
Well, white British is a census category. It's not about arbitrary skin color.
So you won't be. So this reimmigration agenda will not be removing citizenship from white British people, but it will be removing citizenship from people like me. In fact, even
hang on, no. Our policy is that foreign nationals who live in social housing, who can't speak English, who are a burden on the taxpayer, and who hate our way of life, are going to be deported.
As I just said, the video you shared, which you called a razor sharp analysis by Douglas Carswell, said you'll be removing citizenship from people who were born in this country.
Well, I think I shared that video before we launched Restore Britain as a party. So I may well agree with the sentiment, but our policy as a party is what I've just said.
Sorry. You were sat there as somebody who shared the idea positively that we should be removing citizenship from people who are born in this country. That includes people like me. And Nick Buckley, who is actually Nick Buckley MBE, he has tweeted saying that I am a poster boy for remigration, and he is a member of your party. So it's that literally saying people like me, born in this country with my color of skin, are on your list of people who you'll be taking out of the country. And for the record, that is kidnapping. I was born here, and he is talking about kidnapping people with my skin color. That is violence.
Well, let's just clear that up, Charlie.
Don't be so ridiculous.
Would you remove Femi's citizenship?
If you want to debate Nick Buckley's opinions, you should talk to Nick Buckley. Right now, you're talking to me.
Yeah.
And I've just told you
you've denied your own opinions.
Our policy is the deportation of foreign nationals, so we're not talking about citizenship, foreign nationals who hate our way of life, who live in social housing, who are a burden on the taxpayer, because that's simple common sense.
None of that matters if you yourself support the idea of removing citizenship from people who like me, people who are born in this
Charlie,
country.
is that true? Would you remove Femi's citizenship?
Well, it is the case that citizenship has been handed out like confetti over the last few decades.
Question.
I mean, the British Nationality Act has been a disaster for this country, and it is the case that many people have been given citizenship.
It is a yes or no. Would you remove Femi's citizenship?
It's not a yes or no. Let me just get to the point here. It is the case that many people who do hate our way of life, who are not British in any real sense, have been given citizenship by a ruling class which the vast majority of the public do not believe in and oppose. It's an undemocratic and immoral policy.
Even Nigel Farage, I'm going to aim through you to Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage in 2024, he said that 46% of British Muslims support Hamas, support a terrorist organization. Well, and the survey he was quoting didn't say that. It asked British Muslims who do they have more sympathy for, the Israeli government or Hamas. So he was literally lying about half of British Muslims to paint them as terrorists. That's the kind.
A couple of things to say. First of all, Nick Buckley, who's been referenced, not here to defend himself. Charlie, I'll give you one more chance if you want to directly address it. And I appreciate you say you don't consider it to be a yes or no, but Femi claiming that you want to remove his citizenship. Would you remove his citizenship?
Well, we have to start with there's 10 million foreign nationals in this country, and it is largely
not a direct answer.
That the problem.
That's not a direct answer.
Well, our policy, the party policy at the moment is no.
So you wouldn't remove Femi's citizenship?
Well, as things stand, our agenda is purely focusing on illegals and foreign nationals.
As things stand.
Well, you hate our way of life, Femi. That is a fact. You hate this country.
Yeah. So this again, textbook fascism is to say that anybody who disagrees with you is somehow unpatriotic.
No, it just means recognizing that this is a country with a very long history. A huge number of people have come here since the Second World War, and many of those people don't belong here.
Connor is in Turkey. Good morning, Connor. How did you vote back in 2016?
Remain. It is the worst thing that ever happened. Brexit, because I work in Europe most of the time, my UK passport was worth nothing. And I couldn't get a visa, couldn't do anything. Luckily enough, my mother's Irish, so I qualified to get an Irish passport, which is European.
So why, when you say it was the worst thing that happened, I mean, tell me a bit more about how it impacted your life.
Well, I work in pharmaceuticals, and I was going back to do the COVID-19 vaccine, and I wasn't allowed to fly. But they said, your passport, you need more documents. And I said, look, I need to go. So they said, no, you need more documents because of Brexit, because this happens. And
but I suppose, Connor, that sort of goes to Charlie's point, which is that is an implementation thing. That is the way we have negotiated our exit from the European Union as a bloc. That is the regulations that have been imposed afterwards. Does that necessarily mean that Brexit in and of itself was the wrong decision?
Well, the thing is, going back then, the 52% that voted were really like old age pensioners, just thinking about immigration, and that was it. They didn't think about the economic and fiscal policies.
And is it illegitimate for older voters, for any voters, to be thinking about immigration when they voted to leave?
Well, look, I've got nothing about immigration. I've got lots and lots of people, lots of Polish people that work in my industry that we need in this country, because we haven't got enough people to work, and so we do need immigration. That's a given. But
Connor, let me put that point to Charlie. Charlie Downs from Restore Britain in the studio with us. We need immigration, don't we, Charlie?
No, we don't. People make the case all the time that we need immigration for economic reasons. And even if that were true, I don't think it is true, but even if that were true, it's simply not worth the trade-offs. It's not worth the atrocities that we've been subject to over the last few decades, not least the grooming gangs, which we've just published a huge report on. These problems are entirely avoidable, but they're only brought here due to decisions by the government to bring in people from countries that are fundamentally incompatible with their own.
Connor, do you want to come back on that, and then I'll let Femi come in?
Yes. Well, what I would say is sometimes in our country, in the UK, people are too lazy to work, and you get people to come over who will work.
Charlie, are Brits too lazy to do the jobs that foreign migrants do?
There may be a small portion who exploit the system, not least through mental health benefits. But I think it's largely been the fact that the British people have been disempowered. I mean, look at the fact that we're going to talk about the NHS. Look at the fact that the recruitment of British nationals dropped following Brexit, and the recruitment of people from countries like India massively increased. I think this is another problem. It's just simply that our people are not being put first.
That side of politics will weaponize the issue of violence against women. In fact, several women's charities, such as End Violence Against Women, have said they condemn the weaponization of violence against women for racist reasons, especially given that there are 80,000 rapes every year. 3.7% of crimes against minors are committed by Asian men, and that's according to the latest government statistics. And there might be differences in terms of grooming gangs. We don't have the data properly, which does require an inquiry. I agree with that. But to blame the concept of violence against women or violence against minors on brown people is a distortion of the facts.
Did I say that?
You said that they bring this problem to this country. That's the words you just said.
Yes.
That is blaming it on them.
Well, no, it's blaming it on the perpetrators who are primarily Pakistani Muslims. It was a choice by our ruling class to bring these people here.
The problem is already here.
Oh, so that means that all crimes are just equal.
On immigration, because this was often seen as one of the big drivers for the Brexit vote, that there were people with, and you often hear the language of legitimate concerns about immigration. Do you believe the people who voted because they wanted to see the overall numbers of people coming here legally, we're not talking about asylum seekers, we're not talking about small boats, concerns about the number of people who were coming here legally, including from the EU, do you believe that was a legitimate concern and a legitimate reason to vote for Brexit?
The Nigel Farage was telling people that immigration was completely uncontrolled under the EU, so that was a lie. He admitted that was a lie.
Leave aside the fact that then we had the Boris wave and it went up and it didn't actually lead to lower levels of immigration. But was it a legitimate concern?
If people are told that immigration is completely uncontrolled if we're in the EU, then they're going to be scared of that, because immigration should be controlled. So if they're being led to believe by people like Nigel Farage that immigration is not controlled, then of course they're going to be concerned.
So it's purely propaganda. It's not people looking at the evidence of their own eyes in their own towns.
Well, a lot of the problem was you have austerity, you have policies that make the lives of working class people significantly harder. And so, of course, if you are living in poverty and you see that there's not much to go around, the prospect of there being more people is going to feel daunting. However, if you look more globally at the situation and realize the wealth is in this country, it is simply hoarded at the top, you realize that the problem is not Mohammed down the street, it is not your Polish neighbor. The problem is that our country favors the rich.
So people were wrong to be concerned about immigration?
I'm saying that immigration should be controlled. I think if you have a situation where you aren't controlling immigration, that is a problem. But at the time, they were being fed a false narrative about how immigration was completely uncontrolled under the EU.
Is that fair, though? Because a lot of people hear that and hear an implication that somehow they're a bit thick or that they don't understand the facts, and that actually people just want fewer people coming here legally, not because they hate foreigners, but because they're worried about, for example, the strain on the public services, etc.
Yeah, so this thick argument that anybody, if you say somebody made a mistake on Brexit, you're calling them thick. I studied EU law. For years in 2 different countries in 2 different languages. I then worked in Brussels in and around the EU institutions for years as well. So I am, relative to most people in UK politics, an expert on the EU. The fact that I say that I understand this issue better than other people does not make me some arrogant person calling people thick. It just means I happen to have studied this topic.
But you are saying that people should not believe the evidence of their own eyes and are just easily led along by people like Farage.
The evidence of their own eyes is seeing that public services are failing. It's seeing that the cost in the shops is
but it's also seeing their high streets taken over by Turkish barbers and tacky, dodgy vape shops, and just people who are not from this country who can't speak the language just loitering around.
This is the Reform Party rhetoric.
I'm not from Reform, Femi, as we've established many times.
It's the same thing. You have Sarah Poach in the Reform Party MP saying it drives her mad when she sees
how many times are we going to do this? I'm not from Reform.
In fairness, Femi, Charlie is here in a capacity from Restore Britain. He's not here to defend a party that he's not a member of.
To be honest, Femi, your view of Britishness is closer to Reform than it is to ours.
Allow me to finish my point. So it's the rhetoric of not liking when you see black and brown faces on TV. That notion of even if you accept, and I've been saying this for 10 years, if you know that leaving the EU is going to make you poor, which everybody agrees that it has, if seeing a couple of Turkish barbers is enough to make you say, all right, we still need to keep doing this, that means you're willing to make yourself poor so that you see less brown faces. That kind of rhetoric means you hate foreigners more than you love this country, which is the problem with people like you.
Leaving the racialized language to one side, because I've not once said it's about brown faces or anything like that. If you want to talk to Sarah Poachin, talk to Sarah Poachin. What I'm saying is that it's totally legitimate for the people of this country to accept the fact that they will be poorer if that means that their country is continues to exist.
Well, that's the point Suki's making.
If they have a country where their children are not a minority.
Saying, James, Charlie would rather live in poverty than allow economic immigrants to come here.
Damn right.
You would rather be poorer with fewer immigrants?
I would rather be poorer than have my children and grandchildren grow up in a country where they are an ethnic minority.
Remind me of your upbringing. What sort of school did you go to, by the way?
What sort of school did I go to? I went to a state primary and secondary.
Okay. And you're fairly comfortable now?
Why are you asking these questions?
It's just that Rupert Lowe, Nigel Farage, Richard Tice, these are all people that are very, very well off.
The millionaires. Come on.
I know, but I've heard...
Address the substance of my argument. Do you think it is right for white British children to grow up as a minority in their own country? My issue is,
we're hearing from a party that is run by and funded by millionaires saying that they are happy to make the people of this country poorer for their own political agenda.
Our country is not funded by millionaires. It's funded by our 140,000 paying members from the British public.
Is your boss not friends with Musk, like supported by Musk?
He doesn't fund us. We're funded by our members. Many all of whom are ordinary people.
Yeah, millionaires saying they're
Across the hour, a pattern repeats. Economic damage is acknowledged, then reframed as a price worth paying. Specific policies are disowned as belonging to other people, other parties, even as the same language and figures keep resurfacing. Both guests cited statistics to back their case, some contested, some widely accepted, and both accused the other of distorting the public mood a decade ago. 10 years have passed, and the argument hasn't really moved. What's changed is what it's now openly about: immigration, identity, belonging. These were always part of the Brexit conversation, but rarely stated this plainly, this early, in a debate about trade and the economy. Was it worth it? That depends entirely on what people think the question was actually asking.